Okay, I'll just start. Very good evening.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, madam.
So, so this is our first class, MSO-001. This is sociological theory and concepts. Okay, I'll start with unit one. So, firstly, we'll be looking at sociological theory and its context. Basically, the idea here is to look at uh, the context of social theory, then what the sociological thinkers they have talked about, like the founding fathers, August Comte, Max Weber, and Durkheim, and here also we will describe about the British social theories, and lastly the role of the context in the rise of sociological theory. Okay, so firstly, sociological theory. Acha, firstly, what is theory? A theory is um, whenever we talk about any theory, that means uh, we talk about why do we read the thinkers. To explain a particular concept, we need to take the different perspectives. Theory means the different perspectives. So, to explain any concept, when we use the different perspectives, different ideas of the thinkers, that is called, uh, that means we have talked about that particular concept through the theory. So sociological theories here is to respond to the sociological or the social situation in which someone exists and try to make sense of the enveloping culture. So here, uh, sociological theory is the sociologist's response to the context in which he or she lives. Okay. What happened to my camera? Okay. So we will be first talking about the French Revolution, which happened in 1789. Basically, that period it became an important element, for the history of sociology. It gave rise to many changes uh, in the society, which were beneficial in the main, but the problem was in the society, the law and order, maintenance of law and order in the society of France. So, uh, there we see the contributions made by Auguste Comte and Durkheim, who were mainly concerned about the society's law and order. So then this industrial revolution, which happened in 19th century, 19th and early 20th centuries. So during that time, there was a series of developments or the rapid technological changes. The changes that mainly uh, uh, from the agrarian based economy to the industrial economy, advanced industrial economy. So there was a shift away from like the countryside into the industrial jobs. So these like there was they required large bureaucracies to control and give direction to the emerging capitalism. So uh, then what happened? The prominence of socialism. What is it? This is another series of factors which created a great deal of reaction. Uh, it is a direct critique of capitalism. It was supported by some scholars, sociologists Karl Marx, who was not only an effective writer, he was also a political activist. Due to industrial revolution, there was great movement of people from rural to the urban context or urban locality. So there was the phenomena of migration comes, which is partly due to the opening of new jobs in urban areas. So this meant adjusting to the new lifestyle, like the new lifestyle in urban areas. Sorry, no, I don't have any PPT. I have not yet completed. If you want the PPT, I'll give it to you after the class. So the phenomena of migrations partly due to opening up of jobs in urban areas, yet this means adjusting to the new lifestyle in urban areas. So there we see in the urban areas some of the negative factors like pollution, overcrowdedness, then inadequate uh, trans- transport systems, disparities in income, etc., etc. So these things impacted on the religious system also, like there is different what I'm not so early sociologists, they wanted to emulate the physical and biological sciences in order to get them recognition, prestige, and create popularity for sociology. So while talking about the context of social theory, basically the idea is the sociologists how they have contributed to this field. Say, for example, firstly, we'll talk about the context of enlightenment. Basically, August Comte, he's the founding father of sociology. He, the Enlightenment period, it comprised partly which with the analysis and reaction to the Enlightenment and the French Revolution. Auguste Comte, he's mainly uh, sociology of social physics. He developed as a counter to the social anarchy. Like basically, he has contributed towards the field. The first work is the law of three stages, where basically he talked about the three stages, like the theological stage, metaphysical stage, and the positive stage. So please don't talk about the assignment. You can talk it to discuss this later. First, you all have the materials, the study materials, which is the MSO-1 001 book. You can find all of the things is there. So from the law of three stages, the first stage is the theological stage, where he talked about the importance of the supernatural powers and the religious icons which impact on the society. Uh, and even the world is believed to be a product of God. The second stage is the metaphysical stage, where the importance is given to the nature. Uh, that means the nature had to explain everything about the man and the society. And the third stage is the positive stage, which fundamentally was influenced by science, positive or rational thinking. So there was no God or nature in this stage. So positive stage, this dominates only when the traces of the theological and metaphysical stages have been finally reduced, if not completely eliminated from the society. So since Auguste Comte's position was evolutionary, he was an evolutionary sociological thinker, evolutionary interpretation of society he has given. So it is clear that he did not believe in the violent type of revolutions. So some other aspects of his work and uh, which includes his observations on social structure and social change. So as a sociologist, he believed that sociology would ultimately emerge as a dominant force due to its excellence in understanding social processes. So these were his contributions towards the field of sociology. Let's now talk about contribution of Durkheim towards the Enlightenment. So uh, Durkheim, he's a unlike Comte, Enlightenment was not all negative, but in fact, it did have some position aspects, such as emphasis on scientific method. So, in his major work, The Rules of Sociological Method, he says sociology as the study of social fact and are external to and coercive of individuals in society. So, this Durkheim, he demonstrated the usefulness of the approach in his study of suicide. So basically, in the this is today we are discussing the block one. In the block one, there are 4 units, but the contributions of these thinkers will be repeated somehow. So here I'll be giving just brief introduction of all these thinkers. Then we'll in the next units we will be talking about in detail. So Durkheim, his emphasis was not on the individual but the social causes behind it. He was keen to study the differences in the suicide rate in different social categories and groups. For example, groups, regions, and countries. So to him, it was the variations within the social facts which explain different rates of suicide in different groups. So he was talking about the different variations within the social facts. So he talked about the two types of social facts. One is material and the second is non-material social fact. Material facts, like for example, uh, the things which we can touch, non-material is the which is intangible. So material facts differ from non-material facts, and it was the latter that Durkheim focused in most of his work. So in his work, The Elementary Forms of Religious Life, he studied the primitive society so that he could find religion in a primitive form. Like in doing this, for Durkheim, society itself is the basis for religion itself. So he talks about like Durkheim here, he was for the status quo so far as the society is concerned, for society as God is sacred. His work ensured that society had made a place for itself in France by the end of 19th century and the beginning of the 20th century. Let's now talk about his another important work, The Division of Labor. Uh, ah, like in the division of labor, he is basically talking about the specialization of occupations. Division of labor is one of his PhD thesis, which he has published. He tried to talk about the various factors social which acted as the binding glue of society. He felt, however, hello, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Am I okay?
Yes, ma'am. Audible, ma'am.
Okay. So next is the ideology by Karl Marx. Karl Marx. So Karl Marx, he was basically influenced by Hegel. Hegel's philosophy, which whether my network is slow. It's raining this side, so I think my network is very slow. Am I audible? Can you write yes or no?
Yes, ma'am. Audible one.
So Karl Marx, he was basically influenced by Hegel's philosophy. Uh, Hegel's philosophy basically emphasized the dialectic and idealism. And Karl Marx says dialectics, he talks about where idea is important in terms of Hegel. But Karl Marx, he talks about idea is nothing but like consciousness. He adds materialism with the idea. So, Marxian philosophy basically talks about the historical materialism, where he talks about the history and the materialism, where he says history means the society, where he has explained the types of society, and materialism is the matter, or during all in the different types of society, what was the occupation during that time, and on the basis of occupation, like what are the two types of groups in each group, like say for example in the feudal society, so there was feudal lord or the landlord, and the second category is the landless laborer. So likewise in the capitalist society, so there was the proletariat, the bourgeois is the or the capitalist class, and the proletariat. So these are the two types of classes. So, Hegel's philosophy emphasized dialectic and idealism, and Marx talks about dialectic. He has talked about the historical materialism. The dialectic stresses the great importance of the processes, including those of conflict. So, similarly, the idea of the world is also dynamic, like Marx has accepted the use value of the dialectical processes, which he wanted to apply in it in the study of economics rather than uh, to leave it as a concept applied to ideas alone. So he talks about uh, like for him, Karl Marx, everything could be reduced to a material base, not to the mind and its processes. For Karl Marx, capitalism was the problem which led to alienation and polarization and revolution. So, in his theory of alienation, basically he talks about the types of alienation, like first is alienation uh, from the process, then second is alienation from the process of product, then alienation from the fellow human beings, and alienation from himself or from the self. So in the first category, alienation from the process of production. So I'll give here one example to make you understand the theory of alienation. So like say for example, uh, in a factory there is like let's talk about a shoe factory, Nike. So there are, this is one of the study from a IITN. Uh, there are 352 uh, team in a company, in this company. So for to make the base, uh, let's say I'll give one more example. Suppose in everyone's home, there we can see maid is coming almost. So suppose the maid is we have allotted like she gives 2 hours of her work, like she works from 8 to 10 every day. But whenever, like one day, suppose we want her to work more, like to give us one half an hour more. Okay, so for that, like for the half an hour, we ask her to like huh. So in the maid, there are she has to work from 8 to 10, but if we say her to give us half an hour more, so for that half an hour more, she has worked for us, but we are not giving any recognition at the end, because we think if we praise her or we give her, then she will demand more. So like for example, so during in our home, when she gives us half an hour more, then at that time in our home, there is the celebration of some, like suppose in a festival. So there the festival is also happening in her home. So during that time, some of her guests, they might have come to her home, and at that time, whenever she gives us she works in our home from 8 to 10, and she's on that day she's giving us 8 to 10:30, half an hour more. So during that time, her guests, they might leave after her visit, and she was not there. So it seems like at that this process, she is getting alienated from the process of product. Like the festival is not only ours, this festival also belongs to her also. And in this festival, where she has to enjoy with her guests also, that didn't happen. So she felt alienated from her fellow human beings. Then she felt alienated from herself, because she is getting tortured from her like owner. So in this process, so here while talking about the theory of alienation, she gets alienated from herself, then she gets alienated from her fellow human beings, then she gets alienated from the process, and lastly from the process of product. And while talking about Karl Marx polarization is basically two poles set apart. That means polarization means one side, if it's capitalism, like proletariat and the bourgeois, the two categories, those who haves and those who have nots. And the revolution, while talking about the revolution, the proletariat, when they are getting tortured through their masters, then one day they'll think that revolution will come. They will, when they get the class, when they are in class in itself and class for itself, when they are getting consciousness, like to become class for itself, they are getting united, and they think one day the we will remove the capitalists, we will throw out the capitalists from the society. So then there will be revolution. So for Marx, revolution by the proletariat was the answer to the evil. His approach led him uh, to the work of Ricardo and Smith, who used political economies, and uh, it was these studies which finalized his approach, which pointed out that the profit of the capitalist was at the expense or exploitation of the wage laborers. So here we talk about the concept of surplus value, which was the very basis of the exploitation. Surplus means the things which left, suppose for to produce a, suppose let's say for example to produce a pencil, uh, the capitalist has given from 10 to 10, suppose in a factory from 10 to 5, the laborers workers have to produce 10 pencils. But if capitalist or the owner will fix that you give me 1 hour extra, he gives 1 hour extra to the laborers and asks them to produce 12 pencil instead of 10. So when the laborers they gave their time, 1 hour extra, they are giving their extra effort and produce two extra pencils. At the time, the surplus is the profit. The profit only goes to the capitalist, not to the laborers. Neither the laborer they get the recognition, and neither they get the profit. So surplus value it's only goes to the capitalist. So surplus value is the very basis of the exploitation and the root of the capitalist system. So Karl Marx sociology uh, that created many critiques and many works that focuses on the type of activist orientation uh, that was part of his approach. So these were about the thinkers. Let's now talk about uh, Weberian ideology, Max Weber. So Max Weber, according to him, Karl Marx had developed a unicausal theory. What is it? Unicausal theory? It is in which every social aspect was driven or propelled forward by the economy and the economic factors. So Karl Marx, who is talking about from economic perspective, uh, Weber Weber has criticized, his idea was that any aspect of social process had several causes, which made it operate and no single complex of factors. For example, the economy, which could be given primacy so far as social processes are concerned. So we talk about, in case of Max Weber, like for the materialists who believed in economic determinism, it was the material factors that determine the ideology. And Max Weber, uh, for him, the sequence, like the ideas that determine what is done with the economy. He is specially concerned with the effect of religious ideas on economic development. So here, in his work, the Protestant ethic and the spirit of capitalism, in his study, the Protestantism, uh, he showed how the ideas themselves are capable of uh, generating economic development. So he studied other religions than Protestantism, including Hinduism, of which what he says, he felt its lower rate of economic development, which was due to a a, uh, constructing segmentation of the society into a large member of the caste or the jatis. So what it means? It means that once again the landlord or person with land holdings they began to exploit the lower caste with unfair sharing of the produce. If uh, it was sharecropping and many related demands, if it was possible to exploit them further. So it means this uh, this doesn't bear like the sociologists in the 50s who conducted the studies and came to an idea or the conclusion that Hinduism doesn't create economic impediments and caste that adapts to a new economic challenge in a positive manner. So interesting, he was interesting in how the process of rationalization that led to economic development and to the creation and existence of large bureaucracies and other social institutions. So Weber's theories it proved more acceptable than those of Karl Marx. For example, the political and economic applications. They were liberal in some ways and conservative in other ways, and unlike Marx, he did not espouse total radicalism and violent revolutions in order to find a solution to the problems of capitalism. Sociology, uh, according to we're talking about Weber, was built around the factors of political economy, social reform, and that of the social evolution theory. Uh, and While talking about the formal rationality, Weber's concept of formal rationality, where he talked about the three types of authority in political structures. These are the traditional authority, charismatic authority, and the rational legal authority. In the traditional authority, he talks about the sanctity of belief patterns, uh, like that in monarchy, where succession is in a line of the kings. So the prince who becomes king by succession is the example of the traditional authority. He has the authority that is traditional authority. Then the second is charismatic authority. It is based on something extraordinary, like say for example Mahatma Gandhi. Uh, so extraordinary, the charismatic leaders, their powers, and third is the rational legal authority. Rational legal authority is the basic modern modality of leadership. Like it is most political systems derive leaders from a rational legal procedure. For example, the president or the prime ministers, etc., etc., of modern states, they generally adopt a rational legal procedure. So now we will talk about the British sociologists uh, who have they have collected the field-based data and then combine this their findings into a collective picture. So mainly their idea was their emphasis was on the statistical presentation with uh, little or no theorizing. So here the need for theorizing was clearly felt by many sociologists. Theor- uh, need for the theory, how to theorize. The statistically oriented sociologists, they were extremely close to the government and therefore they failed to see how see the flaw in the overall political and economic system. So there was another basic characteristic in the British sociologists, and which was the concern for reforming individuals and then keeping them to fulfill the larger goals of society. So although these sociologists saw the flaws in the social system of the time, nevertheless, they were still interested in solving problems by laying the blame on individual behavior and attitudes. So in following this approach, these sociologists they have shown a high degree of respect to the society in which they were the members. So these clearly it shows the conservative stand. Yet it was felt to be necessary towards of to the Marxian socialism. There were some paradoxes in the situation which the British sociologists found themselves. So uh, let's now talk about the one of the sociologists, British sociologists. He is Herbert Spencer, or the evolutionary theory of Herbert Spencer. So Herbert Spencer, he uh, was a relatively liberal and who believed that the state should not interfere with the market. Like basic idea was the laissez-faire. So this indicates that he was not an advocate of social reform, but he wanted social dynamics to be without external interventions. So in his idea of evolutionism, theory of evolutionism, uh, he went to the extent of comparing social institutions with the plants and animals. Like he talked about the parts are dependent on the whole. He felt that social institutions that would progressively adapt to their environment by themselves without any definite impetus. He took Darwin's premise of survival of the fittest, where those people who could adapt to the social and natural environment would live, while those who could not so adapt met with their aim. So Spencer's he saw society as an organism in which the different parts or the organs are the interconnected, and each had a role to function or the role or the function to perform in the overall working of the entire organism or the body. So, unlike Comte, whose evolutionism was in terms of ideas, Spencer had the real material world, which he wanted to explain and analyze and interpret. While talking about the evolutionary focus of Spencer, basically there is two themes which he focused on. The first instance is the size factor in social evolution. Size factor means uh, like as the size of the society increases, so do the various infrastructural and institutional needs and requirements. So here, the differentiation and specialization begin to manifest in every sphere, and the fact is that both the size and complexity of a town is very different from a metropolitan. So here, what Spencer says is the size of a society increases by various groups uh, bonding to form larger societies. Thus, he viewed increase in the size from that of a simple community to that which is complex or compound society. And the second thing, or the second theme, which on which he focused on, that that of militant to industrial societies. Militant societies are the early forms of organization meant mainly for defense of a society or aggression towards another society. So, such violent attitudes were in themselves responsible for increase in the size of a society, which was so important for social evolution. So, at the end, um the early ideas of sociologists was very important indications of how the context creates an impact of the mind of the sociologist. So the sociologists we have discussed, they were all affected by their social and psychological environment. However, each one of them tended to interpret the social world in their own individualistic ways. However, uh, it is clear that the context of theory is essentially society and culture at a particular time and place. So it can then be said that social theory is in itself a reflection of the social environment and the time in which it was developed also put its stamp on the theory. So therefore, uh, there is then two contexts, like the inner context and the outer context, from which the social theory is derived. Inner context means here the context which has to do with the individual himself and his personal way of analyzing developments in the outer, or to encapsulate the society. Okay. So this is not to say that is any seriality from the outer to the inner context. Rather, they exist in an interrelationship between the individual mind and the societal developments and societal consciousness. So these are about the social theory, the context. Next, let's now talk about uh, the second unit, which is on concept and theory. So here, uh, firstly, the technical meaning of the words is commonly understand and we call them concepts. The concepts which are or which signifies a relationship with one another, like the various measurements of medical tests, which ultimately lead to a confusion, like normal and the pathological state. Normal is the condition. While talking about the famous concept of normal and pathological. Normal, when we talk about normal is the condition and the pathology is the treatment. So the concepts which are used uh, in physics, chemistry, and biology as well, and they help in the measurement of things or forces or formation of equation and conduct of experiments. So the concepts in interaction lead to the formulation of theory that needs constant revisions, the concepts. For examples, here I'll give, um, uh, already I have talked about the Durkheimian and Weber, and I'll talk about the Parsons and Morton's, the concepts. While talking about language, language is a social product, and words means that are given a meaning, and that meaning is commonly accepted by others. So therefore we talk about the social interaction which gets facilitated. So when the word one word is used many times to convey to convey the same meaning, it becomes possible for other persons to share it and thereby to communicate with each other. Even signs, signs, S-I-G-N-S, signs can be used to convey yes or no. Say, I'll give you one example. Um, Example of signs. Say, for example, in a state Andhra Pradesh, if one move the head or the neck from left to right, it means yes. In northern India, that means no. The shaking of head that conveys no. Whereas for yes, the movement has to be up and down. So when we source thumbs up, uh, like showing thumbs up in the waist means ready to go. In the traditional Indian setting, it stands for discarding the other. So these are so there are when we talk about like one word is used in is many times to convey the same meaning. Here we talk about Karl Popper and Wallace Stein. Uh, they are among the foremost scholars from that significant academic works. Uh, this English-speaking countries that make their mark in philosophy, economics, and sociology, and might of them broke like they brought up in the classical trends of music, continue to illustrate the argument from the same. So we talk about here the meaning, the consensual meaning. Consensual meaning. It is most effectively done when words have the same meaning that is understood by all, at least in a defined group. It has to be understood that the choice of a word for describing is a human activity. Things are here described through an agreed meaning of words. So, some writers, they refer this as an intersubjectivity agreement among the persons. So, they deny any objectivity to things. Therefore, in this sense, reality is a social construct. So, let's now talk about concepts, the nature of the concepts. Uh, when scientists use a particular word, then it gets a technical meaning. It becomes a concept. While it refers to a human being, biologists use the phrase Homo sapiens or wise man to describe the modern man. If a person falls ill, in common language, people will say that he or she has got fever. Uh, but as discoveries get advanced, words like influenza or malaria indicate the nature of the fever. So they also describe which parts or insects have affected our body. Then only we understand the nature and the cause of the disease. So here, when we know the nature and cause of the disease, next step of ours is to take care of or to find out the care for the same particular disease through the use of tablets or medicines. So, when fever or disease is described in terms of its components and their behavior um, or we say misbehavior is known, we begin to know how things or bodies associated and recognized they get interrelated. So each measurement helps the physician to analyze the nature of the disease. So here, therefore, the temperature or the blood pressure or the sugar or the blood sugar content, that is urine, that can be measured. So each of these words and their measurements have a definite meaning. Thus, the tests can be carried out by persons other than the physicians. The words that describe each measurement become concepts and they are commonly understood is the same sense by the technicians. So a common understanding which helps locate the normal and pathological distribution of the bodies or antibodies and their particular combinations tell us how they led the physician to determine the disease and where to look for a cure. So, while talking about the process of theory formation, then there we need some of the steps. Theory formation, process of theory formation. So here the first step is to identify the um smallest unit and its characteristics. The second is the interactions among these units that lead to the formation of compounds and complexes in determinate ways. Third is statements that use concepts and their interrelations to indicate the nature of interactions and their results. And the last is frequent experimentation to arrive at the stated results. And if results show a difference, then uh, the difference, explain the difference and arrive at a revised statement. So this was the conceptual thing. Uh, let's now discuss the concepts in sociology. The concepts in sociology, like there were many basic concepts, role, pattern. Role means, um, say for example, the role of a student means the performance he has to, what he or she has to perform. Uh, let's now talk about, this is about, just a second. Talk about the concepts. Okay, first let's start with um, Max Weber. Um, then we talk about the Parsons and Morton, which so here the Protestant ethic, which gave rise to the counterpoint uh, at the hands of writers who treat the Catholic, uh, Hindu, Shinto, then Confucian faiths. Um, just a second, talk about. Yes. Mm. The Weber's, while talking about his, sorry, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
So, in the Protestant ethic and the spirit of capitalism, which was his first work of Max Weber. So, first we are talking of the concepts related to, like first is Protestants. Protestants means it refers to a group of Christians who belong to a particular sect in Christianity. Uh, the other sects are the Catholics. Okay, this was the first concept, Protestants. Then ethics. Ethics means it refers to the principles or the values that the Protestants they followed or cherished. Then the spirit. Spirit is Spirit means the attitudes or a system of maxims of human conduct, spirit. And the fourth concept is the capitalism. Capitalism means it's an economic system which is based on the accumulation of capital, increase in the production, and maximization of production. So these are the four concepts of Max Weber, Protestant ethic and the spirit of capitalism. So here he basically talks about the work ethics. Then in the work ethics, he talks about that work as a virtue. They are the Protestants or the Protestant religion, they spoke highly of work. For them, work is God. Work is something to be done for its own sake, something that is good to do, and something that contributes to the glory of God. Okay, this was work ethics. Then he talks about the vocational ethics. Vocational ethics means uh, if man gets success in his work or in his calling, it is one of the signs to foretell his future. Thus, what happens? It motivates every individual to work and thereby to be successful. Therefore, to do one's work well and successfully means glorification of God's will. Okay, so then the concepts, like he talks about the calling, concept of calling. Calling means vocation. So Protestants believe that every Protestant must have some work to do. The Protestantism asks men to seek gainful enterprise and accumulate wealth. So, as per this view, or according to this view, the elected individuals must succeed in life. Therefore, in order to be marked for salvation, every man must select a calling or a vocation. Okay, so these are the concepts related to Max Weber. Um, then let's now talk about Parsons and Merton. Okay, so they were the 20th century writers. Parsons is the most significant for conceptualizing his theory of social action or the human actions, where he connects economy, polity, institutions, and pattern maintenance. Uh, while talking about the theory of social action, he is specifically focusing on um, the institutions through his AGIL model. AGIL, where A stands for adaptation, where economic institution is having prime importance. A. Second is G. G for goal attainment, where political institutions is having prime importance. AG. I stands for uh, integration. Integration means where institutions has uh, religion. It is having prime importance. Then last is AGIL, L for latency. So these in his theory of social action, um, sorry, social system, where in the social system he is basically connecting economy, polity, institutions, and the pattern maintenance. So the contributions as Parsons, he examined economy, polity, family, and professions, especially medicine as subsystems in cooperation with like valued colleagues, looked into specifics of the American society. His study was based on the American society. Uh, so where he talk about, I'll give you one. Um, let's now talk about the theories of society. Okay, so uh, while talking about the ground reality or the empirical situation of the American society, So here we can see the influence of Parsons that had on um, some critics they have commented upon Parsons as if he was guilty of using too many concepts to state his position and synthesize the effects. Like Parson has he has talked about polity, economy, um, religion, family, etc., etc. So, we get more specific studies of various aspects of society. If we talk about Merton, R.K. Merton, he was among the most um, while talking about the combination of empirical studies and grand theory, taking some aspects selectively at a particular time. We'll discuss about Parsons and Merton in the next unit in detail. Uh, so here, their concepts, Merton's contribution also it attempts in some using the opportunity for developing the concepts that would acquire explanatory power in the broad framework of social theory and social structure. This is one of his contributions, uh, social theory and social structure. Likewise, also M.N. Srinivas. Next comes M.N. Srinivas. While conceptualizing his works, there comes the concept of Sanskritization, dominant caste, etc. The concept of dominant caste, basically, he talked about the concept of dominant caste after his field study in the Rampura village. Where he basically in the Rampura village, where he also developed the concept of Sanskritization, where he talks about Sanskritization as a process by which when a low caste Hindu uh, he acquires uh, he adapts the lifestyle of the high caste or twice born Dujars. Dujar means Dvija means the Brahmins, or when the low caste Hindu adopts the lifestyles of the two wise Dvijas, then the process is called the Sanskritization, because the low caste man learns the what the twice born Dvijas or the high caste people they do. So this process is called the Sanskritization. So this is basically the process when he imitates the high caste people. Okay, now another concept, uh, okay, that is dominant caste and Sanskritization. Please open. So in the next, we will be talking about, these were about the concepts. Let's now talk about what the theories, what are the sociological theories, or the classical sociological theories. So here we'll talk about first, why do we study the thinkers? Thinkers, because theory is like to explain a particular concept, there are different perspectives of looking at the concept. So the different perspectives through which we define the concept is called the theory, the different perspectives. So here we will be talking about the contributions made by Durkheim and then Weber, and also the classical and contemporary theories. So, while talking about the theory, let's now talk about the distinction between theory and practice. Uh, Theory and practice, they might be seen as quite distinct from each other. Theory means it is the explanation of general principles of an art or science, which is constructed with practice. Uh, a theory, it is generally helpful in explaining practice, because when we talk about theoretically explain, that means uh, we are giving a perspective or the idea on a particular aspect. So the theory refers to the much higher level of the abstraction, whereas practice means the empirical situation. Practice means, like, say for example, the field work. If we say field work, like we are doing the applicability. Uh, so if we look at the relationship between theory and practice, there are two possibilities of looking at these things. First is, they both theory and practice, they might be seen as quite distinct from each other. Second is, theory and practice, they might be conceived as uh, complementary to each other. So while talking about the first point of view, it seems that to make a distinction between theory and practice. The theory and practice, they are not two different things, but they can help in understanding each other. It is important to understand the difference between theory and practice, but here there is a need to see what the relationship exists between the two. They both constitute a whole which could well be examined in its own right. So, if we talk about theory from the according to the logic or the philosophy, then theory means a set of interrelated propositions. Proposition means what? It means the statement. The statement which could be proved either true or false. So here the emphasis should be given to the nature of the statement itself, which bears the quality of being proved to true or false. So that is theory. While talking about sociological theory, that means we are giving the perspectives from the sociologists, what the sociologists, how they have contributed, they have given their perspective in sociology. So, when we talk about sociological theory, the meaning and types of sociological theories, that these are there are five. Uh, we talk about the five parts of looking at the meaning and types of sociological theories. By talking about um, the first part basically talks about the nature and meaning of the sociological theory during its like classical era. What they did, the pioneers, they established the credentials of the discipline. And while talking about the second part of the sociological theory, the second part, it deals with the nature and the types of contemporary sociological theory. Here the idea is to reflect to the time when the subject sociology uh, that could come out to its classical period, both chronologically as well as conceptually. So, in the second part, certain important advances were made in sociology, and there was some of the shortcomings of the classical period which were addressed. Okay, these were the second part. And the third part deals with the recent advances that are made in sociological theories. So sociology not only emerging as a new discipline, but also how it matures as a subject. That comes in the third part. Uh, like it got established as an important, mature, and independent subject, where it is having its own identity. So this is the third part of the sociological theory. And fourth part deals with the theories and perspectives in sociology which characterize the subject with some new efforts, and how several doubts over the nature and types of sociological theories were clarified. That was the fourth part. And in the last part, there's the fifth part. Fifth part deals with how certain challenges were put forward before the sociological theory and how it responded to such problem and some challenges. Although sociological theory as it exists today has been able to overcome many obstacles and problems in its own way, but nevertheless, this has never been an easy task to do so. So, here first we will be talking about the classical theories. Classical first, what is classical sociological theory? Classical sociological theory, it belongs to the era when sociology emerged as a new discipline uh, with the one central assertion that the scientific study of society is possible. I repeat, the scientific study of society is possible. So prior to that period, the philosophers, intellectuals, as well as common man, they thought of and conceived of society in their own ways, but the science of society could not emerge out. So the scientific way of studying art society or the science of society that came later. When we talk about the thinker, the first classical sociological thinker, the term, according to him, he was Auguste Comte. He termed sociology, or the term sociology was coined by Auguste Comte. He was a French sociologist and a philosopher, the father of sociology. His full name is Isidore Auguste Marie Francois Xavier Comte. He is Auguste Comte. So his most creditable work is like his efforts in establishing sociology as a scientific as well as an independent discipline. He establishes sociology as an independent discipline. Like before him, uh, uh, we had like philosophy, literature, and art, through which reflections on society were used to be made. Uh, Therefore, in other words, how society could be conceived of philosophically, literally, or through art had been the only available ways and tools to reflect upon society. So, Auguste Comte, who has suggested the analysis of society through scientific method, he was his contributions um, must be seen as the path-breaking ones that helps to us to establish sociology as a new and an independent discipline. So, what is his argument? We will look at his argument. He argued that the scientific study of society is possible, and when such efforts succeeded, the new subject would be known as sociology. So, what we must realize at the moment is the simple fact that which had never been an easy task. So, after establishing sociology as a new and independent scientific discipline, he had made some of his contributions. So, his first contribution is his law of three stages. Uh, a law of three stages, where he basically talks about the development of the human mind, which uh, passes through three stages in all the societies. The first stage is the theological stage, metaphysical stage, and the positive stage. In his theological stage, he says human mind tries to explain various phenomena and things. according to their own capacity. So, what happens at this stage? All phenomena are attributed to some supernatural power. So, here importance is given on the supernatural power. The supernatural power which passes through four stages. These are fetishism, anthropomorphism, polytheism, and monotheism. These are the four sub-stages of theological stage. Then comes the metaphysical stage where he talks about the metaphysics. It is a modification of the theological stage. The position of supernatural powers in the first stage is taken over by the abstract principles in this stage, that is metaphysical stage. So, and the last is the positive stage. In the positive stage, he talks about the all phenomena that are now interpreted in terms of scientific principles and the laws. So, by way of illustrations, we may say that if thunder, say for example, if thunder and lightning were attributed to God or Lord Indra in the theological stage, the laws of physics explain the phenomena in the scientific stage. So that is the scientific stage or the positive stage of August Comte. So um, Auguste Comte, he suggested his scientific method for the study of society that would be based on three methods. One is comparison, observation, and experiment. Uh, Auguste Comte, he explained these concepts uh, to establish sociology as a scientific as well as an independent subject. Although it was Auguste Comte who made the earlier efforts or beginnings to define sociology scientifically, then comes Emile Durkheim, who carried forward the fate of sociology, um, whose contributions uh, first his method of social analysis, which emphasizes on the study of what he calls as social facts. So social facts, what does it mean? Social facts, it not only clarifies his methodological as well as theoretical formulations, but also it helps in understanding uh, or establishing sociology as a new important and independent scientific discipline. Here we talk about the idea of social fact. So first, social fact means uh, the social facts that are the ways of feeling, thinking, and acting commonly spread among the people, which is external to individual and exercising a constraint upon him. So this is the definition of social fact. It's given by Emile Durkheim. Uh, these social facts are different from facts concerning us at the individual or at the psychological level. So Durkheim, he has also clarified that these social facts, these are external and exercise constraint upon individuals. So according to him, we can identify these social facts when we attempt to go against them. So some of the social facts identified by Durkheim himself in his research works uh, like rate of crime, rate of suicide, then comes the division of labor in society, and lastly, religion. So these were the four things. Four in his research works, he has talked about the concept of social fact through the rate of crime, rate of suicide, division of labor in society, and religion. So how to use these social facts for the purpose of social analysis. So here in this context, Durkheim, what he did, he talks about the two things. First is social facts should be treated as things, and the second is uh, one social fact must be explained with another social fact preceding it. So in this way, he says or he tries to achieve mainly two objectives. First is to ensure that sociology virtually becomes a scientific discipline, and the second is to take care that sociology remains as an irreducible subject and doesn't split into several parts belonging to other subjects. So, his idea of normal and pathological aspects of society uh, in this context refers to like how to deal with the various theoretical and methodological issues which he has explained in his seminal work in his book The Rules of Sociological Method. The rules of sociological method. After uh, in the rules of sociological method, he has basically talked about the normal and pathological aspects of society. Pathological means the conditions, the treatment, uh, um, or pathological aspects of the society. Here he talks about how to deal with the various theoretical and methodological issues. Then there comes the next uh, thinker, Karl Marx, who hailed from Germany. He's a German sociologist, and although he attempted to solve several academic problems, but he never claimed himself to be a sociologist. So, what is today known as the Marxist sociology is based upon his various formulations that are basically sociological in nature. Like we have taken the sociological contents from his writings. Okay, so he has some of the basic formulations he has made. These are first is historical materialism, the second is the classes and class struggles, third is theory of surplus value, and fourth is alienation. So Karl Marx, his formulations that provides a departure from the earlier, um, like earlier discussed engagements for sociological analysis. So his theory was also used as a political ideology. So his theoretical formulations reflect a departure from the ones by the previously discussed authors. His method that includes the principles of dialectics, which was not discussed by any of the sociologists earlier. So, in the dialectics, uh, that was not an entirely a new discovery of Marx. It was earlier held by uh, Hegel. Hegel, what was significant and new in Karl Marx's theoretical formulation is his materialistic interpretation of history or materialistic interpretation of society with the help of dialectical method. So, in his theory of historical materialism, he is basically talking about the society and the matter or the materialism. Society here is the history. History is the society. So, as in the case of Hegel, he saw the progress of society through idealism uh, achieved through dialectics. But in case of Karl Marx, the progress of society is possible through the materialistic dialectics. So, Karl Marx, his significant departure in his writings was his emphasis on the historical method. So when The principle of dialectics was applied for the study of history. It was called the historical materialism or the materialistic interpretation of society. It mainly includes the social situation, which helps in shaping of the ideas of people. At some places, the notion of uh, historical materialism has been used interchangeably with that of the dialectical materialism. So, his idea or his emphasis on history and dialectics is also related to his formulations on the class and class struggles. The class struggles, where he talks about the two class, those who haves and the have-nots. So, Karl Marx, he clarified that all the known periods of history up to the present time could be seen as having class struggles. Say, for example, according to Karl Marx and Engels, in the slave society, we have two classes like the masters and slaves. In the feudal society, so there are feudal lords and the serfs. In the capitalist society, there we have capitalists and the workers. So these are the main classes who are struggling against each other for the sake of ownership and control over the means of production. And So after understanding like the theoretical formulations of Karl Marx, uh, let's now talk about focus on the contributions of Max Weber. So Max Weber, he was also a German sociologist. He also belonged to the classical sociological thinker. Max Weber, he is known in sociology for his writings on different topics. He gave a new direction to sociology, to which he offered different as well as new ways of thinking and research. So basically, his ways of thinking and analysis were different from August Comte or Durkheim. So Max Weber, he presented his ideas, which were basically concerned with uh, German sort of understanding, but still reflecting the European and the Western flavor. So he has written on a variety of topics, like from social action to bureaucracy, and he has also contributed in the areas like methodology of social sciences. So, according to Max Weber, uh, he attempted to define sociology in his own terms, like say his like certain formulations which are made by him. For example, Verstehen, which still requires clarifications. Verstehen, where he talks about the interpretative understanding. The sociologists are still struggling with the idea of how exactly to proceed on the lines of thought developed by Max Weber. So, how to go for experimentation with some of the formulations developed by Max Weber, like social action or Verstehen or the phenomenology. So it still remains an area where much remains to be understood, and however, some success has been achieved. For example, the conceptions, one of the concepts, bureaucracy. Uh, Max Weber, he defined while defining sociology, he has focuses on the interpretative understanding of social action. So he continued to speak of social as having two qualities. First is, while doing such an action, the actor, he talks about the actor and the action. So the actor, while doing such an action, the actor must take into account the presence of another actor and wholly or partially be guided by it. And the second is the actor must attach a subjective meaning to it. That is the idea of interpretative understanding. Max Weber, he has also talked about the subjectivity versus objectivity, uh, these both issues in social sciences. His ideas about the importance of Bernstein and ideal types, these are also his important concepts. So he was able to demonstrate in his study that there is a positive relationship uh, while talking about his theory on religion uh, between the Protestant ethics and the development of capitalism. So, here, after examining the theoretical contributions of some of the classical thinkers like Auguste Comte, Emile Durkheim, Karl Marx, and Max Weber, let's conclude about the contributions made by these scholars in the classical era of the development of sociology. So now we will look at the contributions made by the sociologists in the contemporary period. Who are the contemporary or the modern sociological thinker? So the contemporary period of modern sociological theories, um, uh, this could be seen as an important departure from its classical period. So, what happens during the classical period? The central question has been uh, to establish sociology as an independent discipline. To establish sociology as an independent discipline. But during the contemporary period, the main focus has been not only to come out of the classical um, thinking or the classical image, but try to carry on the subject further. So mainly in the contemporary period or contemporary period of modern sociological theory, the scholars they tried to learn from some of the previous shortcomings in the works of the scholars like Durkheim, Weber, and Karl Marx. What the shortcomings they have. So during this period, the learnings from the mistakes of the immediate past, and taking the inspirations from the works of the classical sociologists and rebuilding the subject have been the main concern. So here contemporary sociological thinkers, their main motto was to rebuild the subject of sociology. So, in this context, it seems relevant to mention two important sociologists like Talcott Parsons and Robert K. Merton. Talcott Parsons, whose uh, main theory was the action theory. Yes, action theory. Talcott Parsons, he was an important sociologist from United States of America who had contributed on the theory of social action. Basically, he has discussed the action frame of reference and social system and also on evolution. So his contribution was mainly is what he terms as AGIL model. AGIL, where A stands for adaptation, G for goal orientation, AG, I for integration, and L stands for latency. So Parsons, he wanted to understand how social and the cultural values are internalized into the personality system, the social and cultural values. So his contributions or his major works were mm, the social system. This is his important work, the social system, where Parsons he talked about the three essential components of action. These are as follows, like personality system, social system, and cultural system. Although each one being a part of action, but none being reducible to the other. Uh, in the theory of action, Parsons um, he has explained this AGIL model. Uh, the model or the paradigm that had developed that had been developed by Parsons, it provided him much higher respect. Which one? The AGIL model. Here's another important theoretical formulation. Uh, what he says it as a pattern variable scheme. The pattern variable scheme, which suggests that either an individual or community as an actor uh, has important choices to make against two polar opposite categories. I'll give you one example. For example, whether an individual or community in general, they promote ascription or achievement, alternatively, universalism or particularism. So, Talcott Parsons uh, is also the functionalist thinker. He has referred to five sets of alternative choices. Uh, these five sets of choices, some permutations and combinations could be also made. Like for example, from the earlier referred choices mentioned, it could be ascertained whether the choices made are for universalist achievement or alternatively particularistic ascription sort of orientations. So in his book, The Social System, where he has discussed in detail this pattern variable and also the theories of he's focused on the theories of evolutionism in general. The theories of Parsons are also seen as his contribution to developing the theories of functionalism. Regarding the theories developed by him, uh, from the Western societies as well as from elsewhere have expressed the opinion that his formulations are difficult to understand and there is a need to present it all in the simpler form. So, another criticism, there is also another criticism associated with his work, like Parsons' works are too much of theoretical in nature. So sometimes they appear as the grand theories, like generally they have very little to do with the existing life of today or with the empirical reality. So these are the criticisms. Agreeing with these criticisms, it is what we find. It is true that Parsons' theoretical formulations it might appear difficult to comprehend. It might not refer to the empirical material, but nonetheless, they could be considered as important contributions. He himself clarified that his works had remained concerned with the task of providing theoretical schemes. Another sociologist, modern contemporary sociologist, namely R.K. Merton, he is also the structural functional thinker. His approach was to learn from the mistakes, identify them, and try to remove them, and make functional theory as a viable approach for research investigations in sociology. So, uh, regarding his social research, he talks about the interplay between theory and the facts. So Merton's major work was his famous book, The Social Theory and the Social Structure, where he talks about the functional theory, which could also be seen as wild. reconstructing the functional theory. What Merton says, he says three postulates. Uh, the postulate of functional unity of society. Second is the postulate of universal functionalism. And third is the postulate of indispensability. So there are three postulates suggested by Merton. First is functional unity, then universal functionalism, and then postulate of indispensability. Uh, and later he suggested that such postulates, which once upon a time that guides the works of some earlier sociologists, they are no longer necessary. So additionally, he also talked about the middle range theory and its necessity in the contemporary period. And also he talks about the reference group theory. Uh, So in this way, we could see the works of R.K. Morton, uh, which tried to build up much required ground, and it created the environment for the development of sociology as a scientific discipline. So these were the great efforts to carry forward the discipline of sociology. And uh, at, let's now talk about what are the recent advances in sociological theories. So, recent advances that are quite important since the works of August Comte, Emil Durkheim, A.R.F. Leigh Brown, Malinowski, then Talcott Parsons, and R.K. Morton, uh, which were mainly influenced by and to a large extent remained concerned with the philosophy of positivism. So there was another stream of thought emerging out during the same period. So what was that? The development of sociology has witnessed, apart from the philosophical background of positivism, another stream of thought initiated by the German sociologists like Max Weber. So it was Weber or Max Weber who has defined sociology as an interpretative understanding of social action. So he talks about the subjectivity, subjective understanding, and Verstehen that should be included in sociology. So he uh, never impressed by the formulations centered around positivism and wanted to give a new direction to the formulations in sociological theory. So, in fact, the whole debate centered around the issue of subjectivity versus objectivity that was initiated by Weber. So, sociology as a subject has been strengthened by the efforts made by Max Weber. Um, with a reference to only two such new areas of research, namely phenomenology and econometry, um, there are also two other topics to which uh, uh, there is the recent advancement have focused on like the postmodernism and the globalization. These are the two other topics that require much attention. And yes, we'll now talk about in sociology. So we were talking about the perspectives or the theories. Let's now talk about there are some popular perspectives developed in sociology, which are known as the functionist perspective, conflict perspective, exchange perspective, and symbolic interactionist perspective. These are the four perspectives which are developed in sociology. So while talking about the functionalist perspective, basically we are giving focus on the work of Emil Durkheim and Robert K. Merton. While talking about the conflict perspective, there comes Karl Marx, uh, and then while talking about the exchange perspective, we look upon the works of Bronislaw Malinowski, and then lastly, the interactionist perspective. interactionist perspective, where we basically focus on the works of Herbert Blumer. So these were in less detail. So we have now the while talking about the sociological theories, we should focus on the role of the thinkers as well as the various perspectives to which they are actually attached. So let's now talk about the concept of paradigm, where there are three phases according to Thomas Kuhn, 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 the pre-scientific phase, normal science, and the paradigm shift. So the initial phase, the theories of explanation that are incomplete and conflicting with one another. So at some point, one of the theories establishes itself, bringing in the phase of normal science. So what happens? In this phase, a single theory or a set of theories emerge dominant, which Thomas Kuhn, he calls it as a paradigm. So where there is a paradigm shift, the situation is one where the previous theories have proved to be redundant. So for him, this there is a natural process. It is a natural process, and it repeats itself over time as the new and established theories themselves become incomplete as knowledge expands. Okay, so a new theoretical explanation emerges and establishes itself in the new set of theories and perspectives. So another example of paradigm shift, which Thomas Kuhn has given, it occurred when Einstein's theory of relativity replaced Newton's theory of gravity. The concept of paradigm has it has two aspects. The first is that which engulfs the whole and the subsumes its various parts on subsets. It comprises all the procedure of science or social science. So this is a global paradigm. And while talking about the second one, the second label, fine, there are theories and practices which bolster the existing paradigm of the society or the globe. Then in this unit, okay, we have already talked of the classical sociological theories and the modern contemporary sociological theory. Let's now talk about the unit 4, that is the social construction of reality, where we talk about uh, reality and social construction, the relationship between the language legitimation, socialization, and reality, and uh, the symbolic universe. So, mm, so what does it mean by the two terms, the social construction, then of reality, social construction of reality? Firstly, social reality means what we are referring to it. In fact, basically, the capacity of society to develop different ways of looking at the constituents of the visible aspects of reality. So, thus, as we will see that there are many societies and many cultures, but what is common among them is that social reality that tries to perpetuate itself through the younger generation, but this doesn't usually succeed, and the social reality of each generation, it has several points of departure from the preceding generation. Here we must look at uh, uh, this, the social fabric. Social realities are created as soon as for example, these are created as soon as the new members of the society are ready. A particular imprinting is begun to be ingrained in them. Like among the important areas of life that include the economic, political, psychological, and so on, and each of them is put together by training the new generation to act and behave in some particular manner, which they deem to be fit and worthy of them. So, therefore, the reality itself is fragile, so that any disturbing or conflicting or the conflictual situations that lead to a breakdown of order um, um, for the breakdown of order. So it takes much time to recover from such breakdown of reality, and the time they take to repair the social fabric that may last many years or even make a lifetime impact on some of the members. So thus uh, that our culture is many faceted, and the construction of reality, though similar in many societies, does in fact differ from individual to individual and from nation to nation. So there is a doubt that in the mind of the young and impressionable, there has to be developed certain capacity to be bounded, say by religious or economic status. Therefore, what happens? There is different lifestyle created by the different castes and class, which have a full-blown ideology and interaction in everyday life. Uh, Now, how the social reality is constructed, then uh, it, in order to perpetuate itself, society takes recourse to both socialization and education, and continues to control the individual to some extent, and even bring within him a sense of responsibility to further perpetuate his reality. The social process, it constructs reality, and thereby goes further to establish that very pattern of culture and ideology, which they themselves were taught and learned to make the appropriate judgments and decisions uh, within that framework. So here we look at the phenomena of social reality. Firstly, we will be talking about the work of Peter Berger and Luckman, the sociologist Berger and Luckman. Uh, to study the phenomena of social reality, it implies that we view everyday common sense reality as a point of departure. This is according to Peter Berger and Luckman. So, this is what knowledge ultimately comprises: the interaction and the participation in social life and process. Therefore, the common sense ideas are the most important ingress into understanding the sociology and the phenomena of individuals, groups, and society. Uh, So, while talking about the everyday social reality, what they say, Berger and Lockman, they talk about the everyday life, and its basis is that it is based apprehended by the method of phenomenological analysis, which happens to be a descriptive method. Therefore, we observe that consciousness has the basic property of existing in several dimensions and several types of reality. Uh, the human beings, we talk about the reality, the multiple realities, they are themselves well ordered and more or less fully developed and quite capable of influencing each other. Therefore, the phenomena are such that a particular pattern can be discerned by human beings, and these social facts are imposed upon them. Um, Therefore, what we find is the common sense knowledge, that is what human beings share intersubjectively through interaction with other human beings. So this becomes very clear in the structure of routine that human beings follow in the course of their daily life. So Peter Berger and Lockman, they point out the difficulty exists in the comprehension and translation of those areas which are not classifiable as common sense knowledge, but are in fact a non-everyday reality. Uh, so now let's talk about what the interactions between the human beings in any particular society. The interactions in these interactions, it is the direct face-to-face situations which define much of the structure of reality in everyday life. So this is because when there is face-to-face interaction, the self and the other, and intersubjective understanding by each of the other. So self-reflection is also an outcome of the behavior with others, as it makes us conscious of what we are and stand for in society, since it creates or even gives us our attitudes and subsequently our behavior, which in turn is the basis of human social reality or the realities. So, uh, then let's talk about language and social reality. What is language? The language that have a particular grammar and the syntax, and it is most significant and important sign system of all societies. We can live without language. It helps to create a fond of knowledge which is continuously going expansion and contraction as different words and ideas which enter into the overall fond of knowledge and ideas. So let's say, for example, the English language, which has compiled um the dictionaries, which are revised, edited, or updated, and in these social procedures, many words and concepts enter into the language. Okay, uh, then uh, uh, then let's talk about the objective reality of society. The phenomena here we talk about the objective reality, that means the society that exercises control over the individual and is beyond the control of any single individual. So how this happens in society with the specific focus of institutions. So here we talk about the phenomena of institutionalization. What is it? It is a procedure that creates a space and certain goals and aims that would be reached through various rules that define institutional behavior. Uh, now, um, here also we need to focus on the institutions rise, the two concepts like the reciprocal typifications of the habitualized behavior that make for strictly pattern behavior. Uh, um, then just a sec. What is the next? Okay, this is next concept, that is legitimization and social reality. While talking about this is another aspect of social construction of reality. The legitimization, it means it provides an institution within the society its overall rationale and the rules of conduct. Basically, what it does, it provides the society with a set of rules and regulations which are taken to be the actual or true meaning of the purpose or ideology of an institution. Uh, the legitimization, it provides a total rationale regarding what the actor or the actors are supposed to do. Then next concept is what Berger and Lockman, they say the symbolic universe is what arranges a society in the mind of members while talking about the mind and society. So that what is perceived through the sense, in fact, all possible experience is filtered down through the cognitive process of both objective and subjective. Then the concept comes socialization. It's a process, uh, socialization and legitimization. Uh, yes, what happened? Okay, let's now talk about the last. I think this is the last concept. Uh, while talking about maintain the symbolic universe, what Burton and Lockman they talked about the several types of conceptual equipment, that is mythology, theology, then philosophy and science. Uh, uh, so, um, okay, so there are some. I think we are running short of time. The time is almost. Uh, those who have any doubts, please let me know. Uh, um, 3 or 4 concepts are left, I think. So, is there any doubt? You can text me, or uh, we can discuss it maybe on the last day. Like we have 8 days of discussion, no? So I think the block one is over today. There were 4 units, almost which I have already touched up. The uh, Okay, anything you need to ask? Excuse me, I'm asking you, dear students.
No, man.
Okay, those who have any, I have. Actually I couldn't complete the PPT, so that's why I didn't share. So I'll complete the PPT and I'll send it to you in the group, or maybe someone who may text. If you have already a particular group, I can send it. Okay, or I'll share it through IGNO's website. Okay. So do you have any doubt? You can ask me, or we shall wind up. So this was block one of MSO-1. We'll discuss block two tomorrow at 6:30. Um, okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Uh, is there any WhatsApp official group? No, I don't have. You can take my number. You make the group and you can share it with me. Mm, I'll write this. Or someone take this number 8851 440390.
Ma'am, please come again.
8851 440390. You can make a group, you can add me, then I'll share the PPTs with you all. Okay, thank you very much. I'm Dr. Madhushmita. I'll wind up. Mm, okay, see you
Thank you,
tomorrow
ma'am.
then. Okay. Yes, I'll give you in PDF form. Let me some important topics. Okay. Whatever will come in your exam, I'll give the notes. I'll provide in short form. I'll either through PPT or through PDF. I'll provide you the notes. Okay.